Hey everyone, it's Quickie Baby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching Crazy Matt playing in the last tank in the game that you would want to sit in front of for an extended period of time. It is of course the tier 10 British tank destroyer, the non-turreted one, the Badger. Now this vehicle prides itself as the highest damage per minute in the whole of the game. 3,388 base, and you can get it up to about the 4,500 mark if you use things like a gun rammer, some crew skills like Brothers in Arms, putting in T, and so on and so forth. And so that makes this tank just absolutely terrifying for anything to sit in front of. If you're in a lower tier vehicle, you're going to last seconds. If you're in even the highest health tank in the game like a mouse, if this thing's fully decked out, you're only going to be lasting about 40 seconds. It's just absolutely outrageous how fast this thing can pick apart its opponents. It's also relatively flexible with a decent gun arc, fairly good penetration, not 10 out of 10 tank destroyer penetration, with 272 on its standard rounds and 320 on its premium rounds. In fact, that's actually quite a lot lower than some heavy tanks do get on their heat rounds. So the premium ammunition on this vehicle, one of the downsides. This vehicle isn't like the FV4005 or something like a Jagdpanzer 100 that wants to put out a huge alpha damage shot at something, go through it with ease because they have awesome penetration. This thing, what it wants to do is to catch people out in the open, or to try and encourage people to come and pick a fight with it. And yeah, you don't really want to mess with the Badger in close quarters combat unless you manage to double track the thing and hold it still. Just look at what this Object 260 is going to have to deal with now, with Crazy Matt putting one round into the 260 to begin with and taking his tracks off after he'd just repaired. And look how quickly this thing reloads. And Crazy Matt, he's not exactly using pudding and tea, he's not min-maxing this tank right now, and so you could actually amplify this up even further. And these are big rounds here. They're 123mm shells with 480 average damage on its standard penetration. Well, sorry, on its standard rounds here. I say that because the vehicle can get even more mental if you're engaging lightly armored targets, because the Hesh rounds on this tank have 130mm of penetration. Fantastic penetration for HE on the high explosive squash head rounds, and they do, is that 630 average damage? That's 620. It's just absolutely outrageous. And look at that, tier 10 Soviet heavy tank, recently buffed 260, very competent player playing it as well, will be very experienced in that vehicle, just gets absolutely eviscerated by this tank. Now Crazy Matt is going to be loading premium rounds in this vehicle, so do keep that in mind as he is engaging the lower plate of the Type 5 Heavy here. And that's what you have to do right now, and it's something that I talked about in my video that I released yesterday, is that you don't really have a choice when you're engaging the front of these derpy Japanese tanks. You just have to fire the gold. However, I don't like what Crazy Matt is going to do with this next shot. He's actually going to go for the lower plate there. That was a poor choice. He should have either shot the Leopard, or alternatively, he should have gone for the mid plate of the Type 5 Heavy, which would have had less of an angle. Nevertheless, 3,900 damage already into this game, 3 minutes into it. This is looking absolutely ludicrous for Crazy Matt already. I would be happy with that in any tank as a full game. Yet Matt is sitting there with 3/4 of his hit points left and a lot of tanks left to vanquish on the enemy. Talk about vanquishing your enemy. Goodbye, Leopard. He's gone back to the garage. And Matt is really getting through these premium rounds very quickly. I hope he's not going to regret that later on. But, you know, maybe he's living up to his name of the idea of being Crazy Matt. Talk about Crazy Matt. It wasn't so crazy this time, as he did connect a shell to the mid plate of the Type 5 Heavy, which is weaker than the lower plate, unless it's angled for some reason. The lower plate wouldn't be. And just look at this IS-7. The IS-7, firstly, I'm getting so distracted by that lovely skin. Just how awesome are these new skins? Look, there's a lot of things that Wargaming have done wrong with the loot boxes in World of Tanks recently, but those skins are not one of them. And he bounces off the lower plate of the IS-7 with the second shell, showing you that the penetration on this gun is one of the weakest things about it as a tier 10 tank destroyer. He tries to aim down onto the driver's hatch of the IS-7 there, unable to do so. Now he's going to aim onto the side as he turns, and that one's got to go through. The IS-7 needs to keep its armor unangled if it wants to avoid penetrations from the Badger. And just, it's hilarious. The Badger's just firing multiple shots for every time the IS-7 shoots at it, and it's hitting just as hard. It's ludicrous. And unless you're getting face-hugged by an IS-7 who's probably using a little bit of the gun depression as well, tilting their tank slightly upwards, that upper hull is still a pain in the backside to be able to get through, and that's the only chance the IS-7 would have to survive it. Crazy Matt, I think what he was thinking about there is he was thinking about using this position over this little ridge here to maybe put some rounds into the FE405. However, probably the Badger might not have been tall enough to be able to get that. Alright, so you're seeing the Badger in the perfect environment, you know, when you're kind of fighting out around the streets. You've got to keep all of your opponents linear in front of you where all of the Badger's armor is focused. So, how do you actually manage to take this thing down? Well, clearly, if you do manage to double track this thing, you can penetrate it from here and you're going to be able to do full damage to the tank and also keep it immobilized. And the same thing from the front as well, as the hull does stick out quite a way on the front of the Badger, unlike a lot of tank destroyers, like, for example, the T-95. Alright, Crazy Matt, now up to 6,000 damage, having just dominated the center of this map, is now looking for opportunities, but he doesn't want to get caught out right now. Those are some scary British tank destroyers. Both of the other competition for the Badger, the FE215B183 and the FE4005, sitting towards the northwest, and even a Jagdpanzer 100 towards the northern part of this map. Matt shows his experience there, shooting through the wall and also going into the side of the Jagdpanzer 100, and connects another shell as well. That is 1,000 damage done to the Jagdpanzer 100 before it was able to react and pull back round the corner. That is what the Badger is designed to do. It's not about putting in a big alpha shot, doing 750 alpha damage like you would do on a T110E3, for example. What it's designed to do is to put multiple shots in before the enemy has had a chance to react. Now, this is an interesting moment here. Crazy Matt's actually loading a Hesh round, and it did go through the side of the FE215B183 there, dealing 617 damage. And when you think that you can get the reload of this vehicle down to pretty much about 7 seconds with awesome cruise skills, that's just absolutely mental. And the FE almost appeared to be AFK. Maybe they were on their desktop. Maybe their mum was calling them down for dinner or something. No, mum! Don't make me leave right now! And that's all it takes. A little bit of a distraction, a moment of lack of focus, and the Badger has got you at its mercy. Alright, so Crazy Matt now up to 5 kills, 8,600 damage, but this game is by no means taken care of. There's a platoon on the enemy team, the FE405 providing crossfire for the Panzer VII, who seems to be holding back multiple vehicles along the western flank here. There's also a T-62A who's trying to lock down an IS-7 against the Jagdpanzer 100. This is by no means a safe game for sure. Alright, so Crazy Matt now tries to turn his attention towards the Jagdpanzer 100 on the enemy team and make his way there. With the FE405 covering at the back and that T-62A in support, this is the thing about the Badger. It's very vulnerable from the side. And right now, that British tank destroyer could literally just one-shot the Badger quite easily, but Crazy Matt's decided to push. Now, I guess he's given up about caring about the FE4005 and instead just decides to go for the Panzer VII, because it doesn't look like his team is doing a very good job of actually digging him out. And so now, will he find another shell right into the back of the tank? Gonna have to wait for it. There you go, right into the back. Beautiful shot. And the FE405 looks like it might have been popping up to try and catch a shot into Matt, but unable to find one, maybe through all the rubble or the fences there. Remember that the high explosive squash head rounds on the FE405, or alternatively on this tank as well, wouldn't be able to go through them. Alright, so Badger is waiting now, looking for the Jagdpanzer 100. All it will take is one more shell against that Jagdpanzer 100, probably to be able to finish it off, as I do think it was spotted on low hit points. The T-62A, on the other hand, we don't know quite how many hit points that vehicle was on, and that's the scary one, really. If the T-62A can manage to flank around here and then get behind the Griller or get behind the Badger, it's when you're locked down by multiple opponents that things become very scary for this vehicle. Well, looks like I was a little wrong. The Jagdpanzer 100 had 800 hit points there. And with an HE round by the looks of it from the T110E3, that's reduced now to within the one-shot range for the Badger. Alright, so now I love what Crazy Matt's going to do here. This is a complete stalemate situation, right, ladies and gents? Jagdpanzer just looking there at your lower plate. And Matt is clearly trying to bait a shot from the Jagdpanzer right now. This is tense stuff. This is the last thing that you want to be sitting in front of trying to bait, but he does a perfect job. The Jagdpanzer chokes a shot into the tracks. Looks like the outside tracks, missing the lower plate, and allows Matt to come around the corner, put one in, And connect to second round as well. Great stuff there. Good night, Jagdpanzer E100. Matt showing his experience in this vehicle and baiting a less experienced player. Or maybe you feel that the Jagdpanzer just had to shoot there. Maybe the Jagdpanzer's hand was forced because the Griller was coming up on him from the flank and the E100 and the E3 was getting into position. Maybe he had to just take a swing at the Badger there. You know, if you can force the hand because you know that you've got friends coming in from the flanks, and you can try and accelerate the game by using what looks like a good opportunity, but really just baiting out the miss. And with the long reload on the Jagdpanzer 100, it's just a complete different tank mechanic. This thing, multiple mid-alpha damage shots, not the least. The Stridsvagn 103B has the lowest alpha damage of any of the tier 10 TDs, and by far from the highest. There are tier 10 tank destroyers that have double, if not close to triple, the alpha damage of this vehicle, depending on what rounds you choose. Alright, so the T110E3 slips over the slope into the FV4005, and this is just beautiful stuff right now. I'm surprised that Matt didn't actually reload a Hesh round for the FV4005, but nevertheless, a good old slug of hit points removed, 515. Now, we're going to have to see if he reloads a Hesh round now. No. Of course, why would you bother reloading Hesh when the tank's on 274 hit points? Your AP is guaranteed to go through at an overmatch. But the T110E3 just drowned trying to get the FV4005, or maybe he tracked him. And the T62A finishes off the Griller, which now actually means that Matt's in a bit of a tricky scenario. A T62A should be able to flank round either here or maybe flank round this location and provide a crossfire. And Matt actually gets spotted now without spotting the T62A. And this is where I start to get a little bit nervous when I'm playing the Badger. And this is the thing. I haven't featured this tank on the channel since last year. Now, why is that? The reason why I haven't featured this tank on the channel since last year is because I personally just don't enjoy it. It's really awkward, and I get incredibly frustrated when I play this tank unless you can get on a ridgeline and keep the fight linear. Any player is going to be able to track you, get your sides, and be able to pick you apart. It just feels like while you can definitely go down swinging, you will go down eventually. And you have to have an awesome situation in a town environment like Matt has had here to really be able to dominate things. Alright, yeah, the E100 gets annihilated on Crazy Matt's side, who's now on a Radley Walters medal. And the T62A is clearly towards the west. That's the only place the E100 could have been penetrated there. Or at least as he got spotted round the corner. So Matt is now going to use the E100's wreck and try and push forwards into the bushes to be able to spot the T62A, who's now trying to blind fire rounds through the E100. Oh my word, the T62A thought that Matt was in the bushes or something, or behind the bushes. Matt now slams a shell into the side of the T62A, whose hand has been forced because there's now 6 seconds left before the cap is made, and this is just the dream scenario, right? Looks like Matt might have been shaky a little bit there. He turns his vehicle around as if he's just... I think Matt did that just for me. You know what, Matt? I'd like to give you a big thank you, because I think that you just actually managed to get us a good screenshot. You wanted to turn to face the sun, right? All you needed to do was to get all the way around, buddy, and turn your gun up, and then it would have looked absolutely perfect. But that is an amazing finish. This is the best game I have seen in the Badger. 9 kills and 11,000 damage. Matt completely dominated this game and did everything that he needed to do to slam dunk a humongous carry. So Matt scores his first mark of excellence inside the Badger in an ace tanker for one of the highest base experience games I have ever seen at tier 10. 1,851. Just absolutely ludicrous, and that comes down to, of course, the Radley Walters medal for the 9 kills. A tank sniper for dealing most of that at long range, but I think that Crazy Matt was still, at least for the most part, spotting for himself a Steel War medal for blocking 3,790, never flanked, never shot in the rear, the perfect scenario for the Badger, a high caliber for that 11,808 damage. I'm completely jelly about that. And even an Invader medal for min-maxing the end of the game by getting 100% of the cap and also finishing off the last tank. And you know, one of the best things about this replay as well, even though Matt was not using a premium account, still makes a profit. So Crazy Matt, congratulations to you on this ridiculous replay. Thank you so much for uploading on the What Replays website. But I tell you what, I'm going to feel like one of my own viewers right now. After seeing this game, I want to go out and play the Badger, but I know within about 2 or 3 games I'm going to become immensely frustrated. Maybe I just suck in the tank. Anyway, I hope all of you ladies and gents also enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And if you're watching this video as it's released, it's time for another World of Tanks Tech Tree Showcase on twitch.tv/QuickieBaby. And this week, 902 of you have voted, and the winner is another very high damage per minute tank, the tier 10 Soviet medium, the K91. So come along right now as I showcase the entirety of the rear turret-mounted Soviet medium tank branch, ending up with arguably the best sniping medium tank in World of Tanks. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing as many viewers as possible right now on twitch.tv/QuickieBaby. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.